Is this the brand new 2021 Trek Emonda SLR, the ultimate climbing bike? Well, if you love going for KOMs or have an Everesting attempt planned, and who doesn't these days, then it could be the bike for you. Now, I'd rather do a first ride review with the actual bike in my hands, but as you can tell, I'm in my garage and Trek have not sent me a bike yet, but hopefully they will in the next few weeks. But I was so keen to share the bike with you and have a conversation with you that I want to do a quick first look and run through the details on this exciting new bike. So it's a brand new Trek Emonda then, and it's billed as the fastest climbing bike ever. It's got a 698 gram frame, aero optimized tube profiles, and fully internal cable routing with a brand new aero handlebar and stem. It's like they put the Madone on a serious diet. Oh, and it's disc brakes only. Sorry, rim brake diehards. I'm not going to lie, this is a good looking bike. Very sleek, got internal cable routing, so no exposed cables at all. It looks modern, it looks contemporary, and it looks fast. I can't wait to see how it performs when I get my hands on one. You're looking at a SRAM red ETAP equipped top of the range model weighing 6.75 kilograms, which shows just how far disc brakes have come in the last few years. Though that model does cost a staggering $12,000 or £9,700 here in the UK. Though it's worth stating right at the start, you can get a more affordable Emonda SL for $2,700 or £2,275 here in the UK. Essentially the same frame but made from different carbon fibre, so it's more accessible. This is just the latest lightweight bike to be given an aero makeover, and really the direction this category of previously lightweight focused bikes is going. We've seen a giant TCR Advance be given an aero makeover. There's a Scott Addict as well, one of the lightest bikes previously available, now given an aero makeover. The Focus Ilzaco Max, the Specialized Tarmac, and a Candel Super 6 Evo. So we're seeing bikes that were previously focused on just being lightweight, now we're given an aerodynamic makeover to create a fast, lightweight bike. When the original Emonda launched back in 2014, Trek was only concerned with weight, and boy was it light. The 690 gram frame made it one of the lightest frames in the world, and the range topping model checked in at just 4.6 kilograms. This obsession with weight continued with a second generation Emonda launched in 2017. Weight dropped from 690 to 640 grams, and they added a disc brake option. I actually rode one of these bikes up Ventoux 3 times in the Haute Route event a few years ago, and it was a natural choice. It was fast and light going up and gave me a real advantage over a heavier bike, and plenty of control and confidence going back down. For 2021 then, the focus is not on making it any lighter, but giving it an aero makeover whilst keeping it light. It's no longer good enough to be lightweight, a bike has to be aero as well. That's because going fast, even on climbs, isn't just about how much your bike weighs anymore. Aero is very important, and also because unless you're driving to the bottom of a climb, you'll still be riding on flat and undulating roads where aero really matters. So what's new then? Well, let's dive into the details. Well, for a start, the new Emonda isn't actually any lighter than the previous version, and at 698 grams, it's actually put on weight. Call it a middle-aged bulge that happens to us all eventually. So weight has stayed about the same, but every tube has given an aero profile. It has clearly borrowed lessons from the Madone aero bike, but adapted the tube to ensure weight is kept as low as possible. This balance between being as aero as possible, but also as light as possible. So you can see a clear aero profile in the tubes, but it's not quite as extreme as the Madone. Frontal surface area is critical to reducing drag. Basically, the front of the bike is what hits the air first, so making it as aero as possible is the goal behind the brand new airless RSL handbar. It can apparently save a claimed 7 watts of drag, just a handlebar. That is bonkers. It's an aero profiled one-piece carbon handlebar like you get on a Madone, but designed just for the Emonda. It hides all the cables and brake hoses inside the handlebar, and then they routed into the front of a head tube on the frame. So barely any exposed cables at all. Very neat, very smart, and much neater than the Trek Emonda where the cables go over the stem and into the top tube, and neater than some other aero handlebars in this category. Trek does say though you can use a normal handlebar and stem, but the cable will be routed externally. That's probably something we'll see on cheaper models in the range. One thing for sure, this bike is going to look better with a stem slammed on a top tube to hide the cables as much as possible. The handlebar weighs a claimed 297 grams and you can fit lights and computers with a special bracket. All looks good and sounds impressive, but you probably want some numbers to back up all the claims, right? Well, Trek is claiming the new Emonda is 60 seconds faster per hour on flats and 18 seconds per hour faster at an 8% grade when riding at 350 watts compared to the previous Emonda. You can all ride at 350 watts, can't you? There's more to this new bike than just aerodynamics, although that is the big story, the big headline grabbing story. There's plenty of other details going on and some clear development that has gone into this new bike. There's a brand new carbon fibre OCLV 800. Now Trek is famous as a brand that really was a pioneer of carbon development back in the early days of carbon usage in the 90s. And OCLV, or Optimum Compaction Low Void, to use its full name, was a manufacturing process they developed and have been using since. This new high-grade 800 carbon has apparently been 2 years in development and is claimed to be 30% stronger than the previously highest grade carbon. And being stronger means the frame can be lighter. That's for the Emonda SLR, the range topping model. Underneath it is the Emonda SL, the same frame profiles, but they use OCLV 500 to give a frame weight of a claimed 1,142 grams. So a fair chunk heavier, but a big saving at the till. Another really big detail is the use of a T47 bottom bracket. I can hear the round of applause in the background. So yes, Trek has ditched the BB90 that so many people hated from this new bike, as they already had done on the Damani endurance bike. So yes, Trek has abandoned BB90, consigned it to the history books, dug a hole and buried it, set it alight so it would never torment people again. Other details include tyre clearance for up to a 28mm wide tyre with 4mm of clearance around the tyre and frame, so you probably go a little bit wider, but it's still not as generous as a 32mm wide tyre you can fit on a new giant TCR Advance, but realistically probably wide enough for most people buying this bike. So the new Emonda comes in 2 grades. There's SLR at the very top and then SL underneath it. They get the same frame shape, so all the same aero profiles and T47 bottom bracket, internal cable routing and so on. But you get lighter carbon on the top end model for that claimed sub 700 gram weight. And then a lower grade carbon to make it more affordable, but the weight is more like 1142 grams. So a little bit heavier, but big saving. Depending on what your preferences are, the lightest, but the most expensive, or more affordable, and you take the weight penalty. The Emonda SLR gets the same frame geometry as the pros use. They call it H1.5, so nice and slam, nice and aggressive. Here's a geometry chart of the details for you. There's all their stock colours and builds, of which there'll be quite a few. There's also their Project One, which Trek have been doing for many years, so you can customise the bike in terms of appearance and components to your liking. I mentioned right at the beginning of the video that Trek claims this new Emonda SLR is their fastest climbing bike ever made. And I'm not just saying that, it's not just PR marketing bluff. They've actually done some testing and they give some data, which I'm going to show you now, to show that this bike is faster than the old Emonda in their testing. Now, with all data claims, you need to take it with a pinch of salt, but I can't verify the claims independently, so I'm just taking it at face value. Take it for what it's worth. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. So here is the data from their simulated climbing, and they've done some real world testing. It's been a bit tricky with lockdown to actually do riding at amazing locations in the Alps and so on, but they've done some testing, and here's the data they shared with us. Some interesting times there. Now, some of you might be looking at the data and thinking, well, it's just a few seconds. What does a few seconds matter? Well, if you're a paid professional, you're paid to ride a bike, and you're paid to race a bike, and you're a climbing specialist, then a few seconds can be the difference between winning or losing a stage or a Grand Tour. You don't need me to tell you how close some racing can be. And with the very high level that many pros are now on, they're trying to find ever smaller differences than ever before. So a few seconds here or there can really make a big difference when you're in the final stages of a race. And get this, even the Swift KOM climb is featured on this list. So a virtual climb has been used to test this new Emonda SLR. And I know some of you might not think it, but the bike choice you choose in this virtual Watopia does make a difference. And some websites have done some testing to see which bikes are faster in terms of aero or weight. So yeah, if you like your indoor training on Swift and you want a faster bike for climbing, then this will be the bike for you, as well as it being faster claimed on real world climbs in the real world. Now, for mere mortals like you and I, you might not think this matters to you, But let's think about it. Yes, you're going at lower speeds and putting out less power, but you'll be on that climb for longer than the pros. So you're actually benefiting for a longer period of time from the aero benefits and the weight savings than the pros. So it's not just the pros benefiting at the higher speeds, although the difference might be bigger at those speeds. We can all benefit because like we're going slower, so you might be able to climb twice as long as a pro. So aero still matters even at low speed. So that's a brand new Trek Emonda SL and SLR, a really exciting new bike, third generation lightweight bike, one of the lightest production frames ever made in the past. Now be given an aerodynamic makeover, so it's not only light but also aero, low drag, should be faster not only on the climbs but also on the flatter undulating roads leading to climbs where you can really do the damage if you're a climbing specialist. And some really interesting cable routing. We're seeing a real demand from a lot of consumers for internal cable routing. A modern bike, I think, is typified by no exposed cables. Seeing the feedback on the Giant TCR Advance, which I did a first look on, linked above if you missed that. A lot of people clearly hate exposed cables on a modern bike, and it's something that some people are going to base a buying decision on. So I think Trek's done a really good job. How that bike is to service and maintain and change a cable or brake hose or whatever, or pack it in a bike bag if you're going travelling when the lockdown eases, is another matter. It's something we can test in the future, hopefully. And what it does to make the choice between a previously aerodynamic focused bike and a lightweight bike even harder, because now you have a lightweight bike that's nearly as aero as an aero bike, not as aero, but getting there. Definitely narrows the gap that was there before, makes it really tricky. So do you go for an aero bike with a weight penalty of an aero bike, or do you go for one of these new lightweight and aero bikes and get some of the aero benefits but maintain that low weight? So really interesting choices. In the future, I guess maybe 5-10 years time, you might see an aero bike and a lightweight bike really converge in the middle, to kind of kill the two categories that currently exist. But we probably need a big leap in materials development or materials manufacturing to give us a bike that can be as aero as a bike like the Madone or Revenge perhaps, but then as lightweight as the original or second generation Emonda with 640 grams or even lighter. So imagine a 500 gram frame with the aero of a Madone. That would be exciting, wouldn't it? That's the sort of bike I want to see in the future. We're a little way off that happening yet, but we're getting there. So this new Trek Emonda is a really exciting bike. I like what they've done there. I can't wait to see it in the flesh and hopefully get my hands on one and go for a ride. Hopefully that happened in a few weeks' time. So make sure you subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss that. Loads of tech content coming up as well. I have bike reviews and comparisons coming up. So make sure you stick around for more bike tech stuff. But that's all for now. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Any questions down below as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all again soon. Hopefully, not in my garage, outside in the dry when it stopped raining, and go for a ride and yeah, do some cycling.